Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and yeah, we're doing a random week this week. And this time, I thought I would talk about a movie from 1970, and this boasts to be the actual definitive adaptation of Bram Stoker's book. We have Christopher Lee in Count Dracula, and I'm going to be honest with you, as somebody who has read the book, not really. It's close. It is close. I will say that. But no, it's not really the actual. Um, I know for some people it's kind of neck and neck between this and the Coppola version, but and I know a lot of people really don't like the Coppola version because that turned the whole thing into a love story. Which, if you read the book really is not a love story. But this one, it directed by Jess Franco, written and produced by Harry Allen Towers. You have Christopher Lee playing Dracula again. But the difference between this and doing the Hammer movies, I think what really appealed to this project for Christopher Lee was that the real intention on Franco and Allen Towers' part was they really did want to do the definitive, faithful adaptation of Stoker's book, and I think that's what drew Lee in to play the character. And then you have Klaus Kinski in the film playing Renfield, and I'm going to be honest, in all the adaptations of Dracula, honestly, Kinski, in my personal opinion, his performance as Renfield is absolutely the weakest. He's just there. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there. Really has no dialogue or any of that kind of stuff. They have the scene, that was in the book where Mina goes in to talk to Renfield, and but see in the book and everything, he was kind of Renfield's part in the story was that, he was to kind of let everybody know, like, what was happening. Is Dracula coming? When is he coming? All this kind of stuff. Telling everybody they got to beware because Dracula is a real threat and everything. And that was kind of Renfield's part in the story, was he was supposed to be there to sell how evil and how strong and Dracula is coming, and that they need to prepare and all this kind of stuff. Where Kinski, like, that's about it. He just, that is in the movie where he just grabs Mina and tries to choke her, and that's about it. But the rest of the movie is just him sitting there, like, smearing food on the wall and stuff like this, and collecting bugs, and that's it. That's all he does, So no offense, but in my opinion, Kinski is probably the weakest, very weakest, portrayal of Renfield in any adaptation of Dracula, to be honest with you. But Christopher Lee, I mean, he does the best he can. And the movie starts off, excuse me, the movie does start off very similar to the book. And you can tell it is following the book quite a bit. And when Christopher Lee shows up and everything, he does start off wearing like old man makeup and everything. But then as the movie goes on, he does look, younger. One thing I will say though, if you're going into this movie thinking, this movie I think is like 100 minutes long, and yeah, because see on the back it doesn't say. But yeah, this movie is like 100 minutes long, and honestly, to be truthfully honest with you, Christopher Lee is in the movie a total of maybe 15 minutes. I don't think even that much. Like maybe 12 minutes of screen time. That's all Christopher Lee has in this movie. And of course, the story. Jonathan Harker goes to Transylvania to do the sale of Carfax Abbey. He meets the Count. The Count keeps him prisoner and all this kind of stuff. Of course, Abraham Van Helsing is brought into the story, and in this version, he's played by Herbert Lom. No slouch there. Although it is a little bit sad when you learn that on the bonus features, when you learn that originally the part was going to be done by Vincent Price, and that would have been awesome to have Vincent Price as Van Helsing squaring off against Christopher Lee as Dracula. That would have been cool. But unfortunately, because of scheduling, issues and stuff like that, Price wasn't able to appear. But then they got Herbert Lom, and don't get me wrong, Herbert Lom does a great job. He's a great actor, and he was always compelling to watch, and everything in all the movies he's done. Yes, the Pink Panther movies, but also stuff like Mark of the Devil and The Dead Zone and stuff like that. Herbert Lom's always been an amazing actor, and he is really good in this, and he gives a good performance. I will say the only thing is though is like he doesn't really go much into action in this movie. Uh, the biggest chunk of his performance is basically him in a room just basically talking to people and giving exposition, and that's kind of it. Um, I will say though, the I will say though, when you consider like looking at like a lot of Franco's later films now, according to the bonus features on here, Franco was not really happy with making this movie. He felt like he was not being able to express himself. But the thing is, like that was the thing. Franco was the kind of guy he wanted to make the movies that he wanted to make, and here he is. He's stuck in a situation where it's like, no, we're not here to tell your story. We're here to tell Bram Stoker's story, and and it's like I said, it's not close, but it's not really all the way there. Um, you know, but as a matter of fact, Soledad Miranda, who plays Lucy in this version, he would, like right after he got done with this movie, he would turn around and do Vampiros Lesbos and take Soledad Miranda and basically make her female Dracula. So basically, that was him doing the version of Dracula he wanted to do and everything. But this was, I will say though, like when you watch this movie and when you see some of the movies he did with Alan Towers, his filmmaking technique was not nearly as sloppy. Um, like for instance, you could have, like he really did pay attention to the settings, and the photography in here is beautiful. It's a beautifully shot film, but you do have the vampires going around at night, whereas like he what I mean by sloppy is just like he was just so in a hurry to get his movie shot and everything that continuity and everything just went completely out the window. So you would have vampires running around in the daytime. Vampires are not supposed to be they're supposed to hate mirrors, but you got vampires running around in front of mirrors all the time, always casting reflections. They're always around crucifixes and stuff like that. So I mean, kind of like I said, just the continuity and the whole myth and everything about vampires just kind of goes completely out the window. And that's what I mean by that. Whereas like this one here, you could tell like Franco was more instructed to keep it within the myth of the vampire legend and everything else. So yeah. But overall, like if you had to ask me which would I prefer, this one or the Coppola version, I would probably still have to go with the Coppola version, even though this one here is a little bit more faithful to the book, and it does ditch the love story aspect that the Coppola version had. But the Coppola version just is, in terms of being a movie and in terms of being a Dracula adaptation, it's more visually interesting. It's, with the possible exception of Keanu Reeves, it's much better acted. Herbert Lom does the best he can as Van Helsing, but Anthony Hopkins definitely, has more to do. He gives the character much more flair, everything else. Like I said, Christopher Lee, I think he really gave it his all. I mean that goes without saying. I mean, you could always sit there and say that, like, no matter what, Christopher Lee hardly. I don't think he ever really phoned it in. I think he always tried to give his roles the best that he could give it, and you could tell it's here. But in the Coppola version, Gary Oldman gets infinitely more screen time. He gets much more to do. He gets to play different versions of Dracula, and we get to see more of the facets of Dracula from the book than this here. You know, but this here, like I said, there's a lot of slow moments. There's a lot of scenes where, like I said, it's just a lot of characters just standing in a room talking. It is kind of annoying that, you have one thing that was kind of cool in, the book and in Coppola's adaptation, you have, the group of vampire hunters. You have Van Helsing, you have Dr. Seward, you have Quincy Morris, you have Arthur Holmwood, you have Jonathan Harker, and all this. Basically in this, all you have is Jonathan Harker, and they took Quincy Morris, and they basically what they did was condense all three characters of Dr. Seward, Quincy Morris, and Arthur Holmwood into one character, basically. So yeah, I mean, just I would have to say, if you ask me what I want to watch this one or what I want to watch the Coppola version, I would just kind of would rather watch the Coppola version and endure the love story just because, like I said, just in terms of just acting and just photography and everything else, just the Coppola version is just a more interesting version of the book, even if it's not. Sorry, even if it's not completely 100% the adaptation of the book. And I mean, I do give them credit for trying this, and really, it's like, according to the bonus features, it really fell short of being, like this was a very ambitious project, and the plan was to do a very much almost word for word, scene for scene, chapter for chapter adaptation of Stoker's book. But when you got to realize, you're dealing in movies and film and everything. You got to deal with time. You got to deal with budget, money, everything. So yeah, so they just weren't able to accomplish everything that they wanted to accomplish. So even though the intention was there, it just does kind of fall short. And like I said, and that's like another thing too. Looking at Kinski in this movie, like I said, when he's on the screen, it's just boring. It's just him. It's just watching him just kind of sit there, and maybe he'll do something, and that's about it. Maybe he'll like pick up a fly and then put it down or something, and that's about it. Whereas like Tom Waits, I felt in the Coppola version definitely did a more interesting, and he did he played Renfield more like the way Renfield in the book was, where Renfield is considered to be a madman. He's but that's his thing. He his whole idea is to sell how evil Dracula is. Whereas like in this, Kinski just kind of does nothing. So, and then like I said, maybe if they had done more with Dracula's character, if Christopher Lee had had more screen time and everything else, but like I said, he's in the movie like maybe 12 minutes at most. So, but anyway, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're interested, give it a watch. Definitely it's going to appeal to Jess Franco fans and stuff. Well, I'm not even sure if it's going to appeal to them that much because, I mean, go on to all the later films. Like, now there's this real renaissance of, Franco films being released on physical media and people really getting his films. But one thing a lot of people notice about his movies, most of his movies are softcore and stuff like that, and they're wild and everything. This is pretty much the opposite of that. But if you want to see like Franco try to make it more kind of very tight ship, very professional, I guess professional film, this is the one to watch. But yeah, and just like there just in my opinion, there's just more interesting, maybe not faithful, but more interesting adaptations of Dracula out there than this one. But so anyway, yeah, I mean, give it a shot, I guess. But the only problem is, I think, like at the beginning of the movie, especially if you've read the book and you're a fan of the book, you'll be, oh wow, this is cool. Okay, they're doing a really good adaptation. But as the movie goes along, you're going to start to become disappointed. It's like, okay, wow, really? This is what we're doing? Okay. So anyway, so that'll about do it. So yeah, it's up to you, but give it a shot if you're interested. But so if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I also hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer Monday through Friday. I am the Friday reviewer. And yeah, I'm just so happy to be part of this group. And, hopefully everything will go well. And, so that's it, everybody. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later.